In this video, we're going to build a chatbot playground where you're going to have different models to choose from: the temperature, max token, stream option, JSON mode, and also some advanced features in here. So you can start talking to your LLM, say hello. You get your response, you can change the model, and then you can continue working on your playground and switch over different models in the same playground UI. So let's get started. Hello, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to start building our chatbot playground. And in order to get started, we're going to need to have Python installed in our computer. So if you don't have Python, you can go to python.org and you can download the latest version here for free by clicking download here. You can also download Visual Studio Code. That's the IDE that I'm going to be using, but you're free to use any IDE that you prefer. If you want to download Visual Studio Code, you can go to code.visualstudio.com and download this also for free. So those are the two required things that we need before we get started. And then we're going to sign up to the Groq cloud, and we're going to be using Streamlit in order to build the UI and Groq for accessing the different AI models. So let's say we already have Python installed and Visual Studio Code. We're going to go into our desktop somewhere where you want to create a new folder for your new project. I'm going to call this one chatbot _ playground. And then I just need to open this folder for Visual Studio Code. You can open up a new window for Visual Studio Code, and then you can just open the folder from your Visual Studio Code. So let me just bring that window here. So you can just drag this in here if you want. And did it open it? I don't think it did. Let's just open it through here. Let's go to File, Open Folder. I'm gonna go to my desktop and I'm going to find the new where is it? Chatbot Playground folder, and I'm going to open it up this way. Cool. So let's say if this is the first time you're using Visual Studio Code with Python, it's recommended that you go to the extension tab and then you search for Python. And then you need to install the Python extension from Microsoft. There is this one here, which brings everything you need. So make sure it says Python, Microsoft, and then you can just click install in here. And you're gonna have everything we need in order to get started with the project in Visual Studio Code. After installing that, you can close that up, go back to this tab, to the Explorer, and we're going to get started building the folder structures. The first thing we're going to create is a virtual environment so we can install all the dependencies and packages that we need inside of a virtual environment and not directly in our computer. So in Visual Studio Code, you can hold Ctrl+Shift+P to bring up this palette, and then you can start typing Python and then -create environment. You can see it will come up here. And then you're going to click VENV. You're going to select the latest Python version you have. You might just have one. Click on that, and that is going to start creating your virtual environment for you. and it's going to initialize, create this folder for you, and it is going to set everything up in there for you. Now, by clicking here, we're going to create a new file, which is going to be our app.py, where we're going to be building our application. Also, by clicking here, we can create a new folder by pressing on the folder icon here and call it .stringlit. And here we're going to put a file with our API key as soon as we get the API key. Now, one more file that we need. Let's click here again, create a new file, and we're gonna call this one requirements. Requirements.txt. And here we're gonna list the dependencies that our app is going to need. And the ones that we're going to need are only Streamlit, and we're gonna need Groq. And Groq and Streamlit are the two packages we're gonna need. Groq to connect to the AI model, and Streamlit to build the UI. Now our virtual environment is ready. We're going to open a new terminal by clicking terminal, new terminal. And yours might look different, but you are going to have in here a terminal, either bash or any other terminal. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Doesn't matter, let me just go back to this one. So the terminal that you have here, we are going to now type a command so we can install the requirements that we listed in this file. So when we go here, we can start typing pip install, and then we're gonna point to this file, REQ, and we can hit tab to get the autocomplete. And I'm gonna hit enter, and this is going to install everything that I listed here. If this command doesn't work for you, try adding pip3 install, just in case it doesn't work. So if you get an error like this command is not found, it's going to just you're going to need to put pip3 install and then requirements.txt. And let's see here, I got an error saying you're attempting to install a package literally named requirements.txt. Consider using the R flag. Oh yeah, I forgot the R flag. So let's click on the terminal, press up on our keyboard, and before requirements, we're gonna do the -R so we can look into the file and install everything we listed there correctly. Now this could take a minute, up to 5 minutes for you. For me, it would probably be quicker because I might have done this multiple times before, but just wait until this gets done, and then if you don't get any errors or warnings are fine, this is because probably there's a newer version of pip that I need to install. But if you don't see any errors, you should be good to go. And we're gonna test that by running a command in just a second, just to test out that everything is working fine. So we can close the requirements.txt, and we're gonna go into the app.py, and we're going to import our Streamlit package as st for sure. And then we're going to just add a quick header just to see if everything is working fine. So we're gonna do st.header, and this will create a header component for you. And we're just going to pass the text that we want to show in here. We're going to just say Chatbot Playground, and go ahead and save it. Make sure your file is saved. You can also turn on autosave by clicking File and Autosave, but I normally have that off and I just save my file every single time, but it's up to you. Now in the terminal, we're going to type Streamlit run app.py, and then we're going to press enter, and this is going to open up our page, hopefully in this browser. And let me put these two together here so we can see it. And there we go. If everything was successfully installed, you should be looking at your server running and telling you that you can go to localhost 8501, which is this address here, and we can see the application. Cool. So if you got any errors, try to run the pip install one more time and try pip3 install and requirements -r requirements.txt again. Now here, let's just do a comment. This is going to be the header or page header. And then in here to the header, let's have a quick divider. And we're going to make it orange. And when you save the file, you can click on always rerun here, so you can reload the application for you or the client. Now in Streamlit, you have everything inside of this object or dictionary, and you can just call st.header to create a header. You pass the text you want to display. You can set a divider and pass the color you want to show it. And then right now, if we hover over this, there's a little link on or anchor in here. We can get rid of that by typing anchor false. And now we don't see that there anymore. Cool. So let's also, you can do a title. So we can do st.title. And in here we can pass the title we want to show, and we can do a little bit of markup by doing colon orange, and then the word in square brackets. We can do chat app in here, and then we can also take the anchor off, which is that thing right there, also to false. All right, and so this is a header, a title. You can do subheaders as well. So we can do st.sub underscore or subheader all together. And then we can say something like powered by Groq in here, which is the API we're going to use to connect to the model. Cool, so that's how we can put a little header, title, and subheader into the page. And then we are going to create a sidebar. So right now we need a sidebar on the page so we can have like our menu in here. So we're gonna do a comment here, sidebar, and we can just use the sidebar, and then we can do a .title to add a title right away. And to the title, in quotes, we're going to say parameters, like so. And title, I'm missing a T here. Go ahead and save that, and we can see the sidebar in here with the title parameters. Cool. So to the sidebar, we're going to add in the different models that we can choose from. We're going to add in the different parameters in here, the temperature, the stream option, everything that we need will be listed here. Let me just hide this terminal so we can have more space. And now, before we do anything else here, that has to do with the chatbot, we're going to go into Groq. So you can go to console.groq.com/login. So you can register or log into your account. And I can log in with my Google account or GitHub account. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Just choose whatever you want to for signing up. All right, so I'm already in the Groq Playground, which is something similar to what we're building. And we are going to, let me just expand this so we can look at the documentation, open the documentation in another tab. And then you're going to go to your API keys here, and you're going to create an API key for this application. So you can click on create API key. You can give it a name. For the name, I'm gonna call this one Chatbot Playground, and then I'm going to hit submit. That is going to generate a key for you, which I'm gonna copy, and I'm going to create a new file inside of the .streamlit folder. I'm going to right click it, create a new file, and I'm going to call this one secrets.toml. And this is kind of like a configuration file where we need to set our Groq API key with a environment variable. So in all caps, we're going to type Groq, then underscore API underscore key, and make sure that's spelled correctly, and then equals, and then you're going to paste your API key that you generated here. You're going to be able to see my API key in here just so you can make sure you're following everything step by step, but you should never share your API keys with anyone. And actually, let's wrap this into quotes like this. I will delete my API key before publishing the video, so it's safe for me to just show you in here. So this is how we need to set up our API key. We can close this up. We can close that folder. We don't need to go back to that folder. And we're just going to continue working inside of the app.py. So now that we have our API key set, we can close this subs, click on done. Now we're going to import Groq. We're going to type from Groq, and let's take off the caps and type from Groq again. Import capital G Groq, which is the class that we need in order to initialize a client so we can talk to our API and connect to our models. So we're going to create a variable called client here, and we're going to set that to Groq parentheses, and then we just need to pass the API underscore key and set that equals to, we need to pass st dot secrets and then dot get, and then parenthesis, and then parenthesis, quotes, and then we need to pass the name of the environment variable we created here, which is just going to copy so I don't make any typos, and pass it to this method. So anything that you put in the secrets file will be available for you inside of the st.secrets dictionary. Or actually, secrets, yes, inside of the st.secrets dictionary here. So let me just verify that by console login or print the st.secrets, and then I can look in my terminal to see how that looks, and we can see we have that dictionary there with the key and the value. So that's fine. We can get rid of this. And now with that client later is where how we're going to connect to the API key. to the API. So we'll keep it in there for now. We can just put a comment here, Groq API client. Now let's stay here at the top, and in here I want to initialize two properties inside of the session state object, which is an object that is going to keep the values even if the page re-renders. So I want to add a LLM property and the messages. So let's start with a if statement. Then we're gonna say if LLM is not in the SD dot session underscore state object. If it's not there, we're going to, and I meant to say not there, we're going to initialize it. So SD dot session underscore state, square brackets, and in quotes, we're going to say LLM. And we're just going to initialize it to an empty string for now. So this is going to store the model inside of the session state, and then also we're going to do the same for the messages collection. So if messages is not in SD.session underscore state, we also want to create SD.session underscore state, square brackets, quotes, messages. And this one we're going to initialize it to an empty list or array. And this one will store the chat messages. Cool. So now we have those two in there. We can do a little print statement here. So we can take a look at the session state, and then in here I'm going to pass SD.session underscore state. And then when I save that and open the terminal, we can see session state, just like we put it here, and then the dictionary with the messages and the LLM properties in there. Cool. So now we have those two properties there that are going to survive any re-renders because we created those properties inside of the session state object. So now let's go and build a little bit more on the app. So right now we don't have anything in the parameters here, but we would like to put some other stuff in there. And also we need to build the chat at the bottom here. Let's take a quick look at the documentation on the Groq Cloud. I'm just going to close this up so I can give you more space here. So once you're here in the console, you can go to documentation, API reference. And here we can see we're going to use in the chat completion API. So we can talk to the different models they have available. If we click on models, we can see they will give you the list of models that they have. Llama 3, YAML 2, Llama 3, and they have multiple ones in here. We can also see that in the playground. If we go to the playground here, you can see the different models they have here as well. And we're going to use at least 3 of these in here in order to build the playground. Now let's go back to the chat completion API. And in here, we can see all the different parameters that we can specify when we make the API call. So we're going to be using max token. We're going to pass the messages collection. We're going to set the model, and we're going to use a few more: the stop, the stream, and the temperature, and the tab P, which is here, and we're gonna build the different widgets that we need in order to allow the user or whoever's using the playground to work with those widgets here. So what we're using right now is Streamlit, right? So Streamlit has multiple components that you can use, and they have the website at streamlit.io/components, or you can click on components here, and then you can look at the widgets here, and they have, not here, let's go to the documentation, and let's go to the API reference, and then here we have the different methods that we can use. So for example, we already use the st.header, title and subheader and sidebar to create different widgets that are available here. So text widgets, you have like st.markup.title, which is the one we use, header, subheader, captions, code blocks. You have many different text widgets in here. Then you have also third-party components that you can use, data elements, chart elements, and then if you keep scrolling down, you have like input elements like buttons, etc., color pickers, and then you have like select boxes, which we're gonna need one, and we're gonna need a slider too, and we're gonna need a toggle as well to build our UI. So let's build more on the sidebar for the application in here. So we're gonna stay here on the sidebar, and we're going to let's start with the select box, which is this box here. You can see you can create by typing st.select box. You can put a label, a index, and help on change event. You have multiple parameters here that you can set. So let's start in here by saying st, and if I want to create the select box inside of the sidebar, I have to do st.sidebar first, st.sidebar, and then dot select box. And then here we're going to say select model, and then we're going to pass a list of models we want to use, and the list of models I'm going to just grab it from the playground here, and we're going to use the default llama 3 AB8192. We're going to use this one from Google. We're going to use Mixroute in here too, and you can select any other that you want here, but basically those three are the ones that are going to be part of the playground, but feel free to add any others that you want. So here I'm going to list those names. So I'm going to start with llama 3-AB and then -8192. Save it. We can see the select box. We can see llama is there. Now, comma, we're going to list a mix trial and then -AX 7B -32 768. Save it, double check. And the last one we're gonna add is the Google one. So llama that llama 2 -9B -IT. Let me just double check that last one there. Okay, perfect. Cool, so now we should have 3, and that's fine for now. So now when you select any of these here, that value is going to be, kind of like returned from this. But we can also set like the index of what we want the default one to be. And we can just put a comma here and say index. And then we can set that to 0. And then we can keep it like this for now. But the value that returns from here, from the select box, I want to actually set that to the LLM property that I have in the session state. So I'm going to do space and do st-session underscore state dot LLM, and then equals to the return value of selecting one of these values from the select box. Cool. So now we can keep it in here. And now every time the user picks the model, is going to kind of like refresh the application. And we're going to later on clear the chat when there's a new model picked. So that way you can start a fresh conversation with a different model. So for now, let's continue building the sidebar. And down here, we're going to, let's say this is the model selection. And then down here, we're going to do the parameters. And for the parameters, first we're going to do the temperature. And I want to store that into a variable right away. And I want to create a slider for this. So we're going to do st.sidebar, that slider. And then for the slider, we are going to pass the title, which is temperature. And we can see the slider now. And then right now it's from 0 to 100 by default, but we want this to start at 0.0. And the temperature can go all the way up to 2, so 0.2. And we're gonna set a default value of 1.0. And notice the default value is 1, and then you can move this around all the way up to 2. So whatever value is selected here, this is the default, it will be available inside of this variable. Let's do another one for the max underscore tokens. And we want to also add a slider. So let's do st.sidebar, that slider. Then we're gonna do max quotes, max tokens. And this one we're going to start from 0 all the way up to 8192, which is in the documentation, or you can see it in the playground too. This is the max that you can set in here. Cool. So temperature, max token, save it, and there we go, max tokens. And then let's do a default value for this one and set that to 1024. Cool. Now we want to allow the user to have the option of streaming. So streaming is good, like if you're seeing ChatGPT, when it starts giving you the response little by little, and it just doesn't make you wait until everything is generated. So we're gonna set stream is going to be equals to, we're gonna create a toggle. So we're gonna do st.sidebar, that toggle. And for the toggle, we're going to say string, right? And then we want to have it selected. So we're going to say value equals true, because normally people prefer that. So we start seeing the generation of the text, and now wait until everything is generated to see something. Is a better user experience too. So the last thing we're going to do is going to be the JSON mode. So we're going to say JSON underscore mode equals, and then we're also going to do a toggle. And JSON mode is good when you want the model to return the response in a JSON object. And we're going to do st dash sidebar that toggle, and we're going to say JSON mode, and here we're going to add a little help text, and we're going to say that you must also ask the model to return JSON to return JSON. That's fine, we can keep it like that. So this little help is this icon here where the user can hover over this and see this information or this help information. And even if you turn this on, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get JSON back. You need to also, in your prompt, tell the model to give you JSON. This will help, but it's not guaranteed. So the next section is going to be like the advanced section. So we're going to say advanced parameters in here. And for this one, we want to create a little expander. So an expander, let me close this up here and go back. An expander is a widget that will show only if the user kind of like opens that up, not that. This is the select box and is somewhere here. That's a model. And then what else? What else is here somewhere. Okay, somewhere here. Let's just do it and I'll show you how it looks. But feel free to navigate more and inside of the widgets there so you can learn more. But let's do a with statement, and then we're going to say st that sidebar, so we can have it inside of the sidebar, and then that expander. And with the expander, we're going to say, let's go back to the app here, and in the text, we're going to say advanced, and it says unexpected. Oh, I'm missing the colon in here, and go hit enter there. And then we're going to, let's have inside of the expander, let's have a slider for the tab p. So we're going to create a variable called tab underscore p. And then we're going to do a st dash slider in here. And we're going to say tab p and save it. Now we see this advanced expander here. And then if I expand it, we can see the slider that is inside for the tab P. So for the tab P, we can just go to the playground. They also have the advanced in here section where you have the tab P. And the tab P is going to control the diversity of kind of like the words that the model is going to use to create the response. So this is going to go from 0 all the way up to 1. So we're going to do the same in our app by going in here, and we're going to set the values to start from 0.0, comma 1.0. All right, so we can start from 0 all the way up to 1. Now in here, we're also going to do a help, and it's not recommended to tweak with the temperature and the tab P because you can limit the response or create some very weird responses when you play around with both. So it is recommended to only either tweak the temperature or the tab P. So we're gonna do a little helper to say here, it is not recommended to alter both the temperature and the tab P, and keep it there. So now if the user hover over this, it will see that information there. Now the last thing for the advanced, we're gonna do the stop sequences. So we're gonna create a variable called stop underscore seq, and then we're going to set that to a text input. And in here we're gonna do st.text underscore input, and we're going to say stop sequence. And a stop sequence is kind of like a word that you want to, let's say if the model sees the word "and," it should end generating any response. So if you want to add something like that, you can add it to this box now, and we're going to have access to that here. So this is the advanced section. We're good to go here with the parameters. Now it's time to kind of like start displaying the working with the messages. To display the messages, display the input box, and make our API call. So now we're gonna go a little bit lower here, and we're going to show in the chat messages, which right now they're empty, but we can still loop over the list by saying for message inside of state-session underscore state that messages. We want to show a chat message, and let me show you a little bit more about these in here. Let me just search for text, control F, text element, so, or text input, so text input, the one we use here, so we can see the text input, all the parameters are there, all the different parameters here. Then you can also search for the chat in here. So we have a chat input. We also have down here somewhere. Where there you go. Layout, chat elements in here. We have our chat input, chat message, status container, and how to write a string, which we're also going to use. So in order to create a chat input, we want to, or let's do a chat message here because we're looping over the messages. So we want to create a container by using a with statement. So with st.chat underscore message. In here, we're going to pass the message we want to show. But first, for the chat message, we can set the row, if this is a user message, or a a assistant message. So the structure of a message is going to look something like this. It's going to be a dictionary with a property called user, colon, no, actually is row, it could be user or assistant, and then we're going to have content, and then this is going to be whatever text we type or the prompt. So this is the structure of a chat message. So here we're going to use the, or access the message square brackets row that we're going to set. And then inside of that chat message, we want to write the actual text. So we're just gonna pass st. We're gonna use the dot write method just to write something inside of this chat message container, and we're gonna do message square brackets quotes content like so. So first we select the row, either user or assistant, and then the content is actually the text message that we want. Let me put this here so we can keep it there and we can see it later. Cool. So right now, if we had any messages here, they will be appearing inside of the message. So let's just grab this example, copy that, and paste it in here. And right now it's saying key value pairs are not allowed with a set. Okay, so that's fine. We can just keep it empty for now. We'll append it to the list in here. So, I think that was fine. I think it's just that I have a comma here instead of a colon. So that's why it was reading it as a set. Let me copy that again. It was just a typo. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So right now we still don't see it. Let's refresh it real quick. Yeah, there we go. So we got the message here. So now when the row is user, you get this default user icon, and if it's an agent or an assistant, it's going to look a little bit different. It's going to be yellow by default. So let's just keep it empty. Click on always run here again, and let's scroll down. This is where we're going to display the messages. And then down here, we're going to add the prompt at the bottom, or the text, the chat input, so the user can type the prompt. So here we're going to say show input for the user prompt, and here we're going to check if prompt. So we're just going to create this variable on the fly here if the user types on the st.chat underscore input that we're going to display here now. That was supposed to be a underscore in input, and then colon, hit enter here. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to add the message or prompt to the messages list by doing st-session st-session underscore state dot messages dot append, and then we're going to pass a dictionary here, just like we did in here. We're going to do the row, we're going to set it to user because this is a user message, and then we're going to do the content, and here we just need to pass the prompt variable that we created in here. So that would add the new message to the messages list, and then right under that we're going to show the message. So this is just adding it to the list, but we need to show it in the chat. So we're going to do with st.chat underscore message, and then we're going to pass user in here, and then we're going to do a st.write, and then we're going to pass the prompt in here, so whatever the user typed in there. We can see the input in here. The user can type whatever they type will be stored here. It will add it to the list, and we display it in the chatting here. So if I say hello is rerunning, and I can see hello in here. So cool. So let's continue. Let's actually now that we have the user message store and it's being displayed, now is time for the model to respond. So we have to now, let's say this is here. Let's just say this is going to show the new user message. And then down here, we're going to send the prompt, make the API call and show the message from the model. So let's say make API call and show the model response. So in here, first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a container, kind of like a placeholder for the model message that we're going to display. So we're going to say with st.chat_message. We're going to say this is going to be the assistant message. Assistant message colon, and then hit enter here. So here we're going to create a empty container. So create empty container for container. Yeah, container for let's say just create an empty container for the response. So let's do a variable called response underscore text. Set that equals to st.empty, which creates an empty container that later we can pass multiple values into that container, and we're going to pass text, and the text that is going to be streamed from the model or from the API. So here we're going to make the API call to Groq, and then in here we're going to create a variable called completion. We're going to set that equals to, we're going to use our client that we created all the way in line 5 in order to use the API and talk to the model. We're going to use client that chat that completions that create. Client that chat that completions with an S that create. And then in here, we're going to pass all the different parameters that we want to the model to receive, right? So we need to specify the model we want to use. And the model we want to use, remember we're storing that in the session state. So in st.session underscore state.llm. And then we can say, or by default, we can use llama 3 dash AB dash 8192. Next, we're going to pass our messages, and the messages are stored in st.session underscore state dot messages. And then we also are going to set the stream parameter to whatever the string variable value is here. So by default it's true. If the user tick this off, it's going to be false. So whatever that value is going to be here. Then we also are going to pass the temperature. And we're going to set that to our temperature variable, or temp variable that we also created in here. Now let's pass the max underscore tokens equals to our max tokens variable. By default is going to be 1024, but the user can increase or decrease this however they like. Now the last thing is the JSON format or JSON mode, and in order to do that we're going to have to set the response underscore format, set that equals to, and here we're gonna pass the way we gotta set that is we need to go into the chat completion here, and if we want to look for you can see the temperature is a number, tab P is a number. We haven't set the tab P. Have we set the tab P? Not yet, but we need to set that. And then where is tab P is a number, and then the format is here somewhere. Format, and let's see, where are you? Response format, it's right here. So the way you set it is a dictionary, and if you want to set it to, you need to specify the type, and it could be JSON object, or it could be text or JSON object. The default is text, so in here we're gonna do a quick dictionary. We're gonna say the type is going to be JSON underscore format if in JSON mode is true, else, we want to set a dictionary with, to do that, with the type set to text. Right, so if JSON mode is true, so if the user clicks on this, it's going to be true, and it's going to send this dictionary. If it's off, it's going to set this here. Cool. And then the last thing we still have in the max token, and then we have the tab P here, and then these tab sequence in here. So back into the API, we have the stop in here, so we're gonna set the stop equals to stop sequence, and then we're gonna do the tab P and set that equals to tab P, and let me double check the name in the API parameter. To tab underscore P, so that's fine. That matches this here. Let me see what's going on here. I think these variables, we need to declare that outside, or maybe not. Let's see. Let's print. What happened with Zoom? Where's Zoom trying to open? Let's try to print the tab P in here and look at the terminal. And this is only if I type something here. It says syntax JSON else format. Okay, response type syntax error, invalid syntax, perhaps you forgot a comma. So did I forget a comma? Let's see. In here equals if JSON mode, else we want that. Let's see. And okay, the reason that this is white is because I guess I did forgot to put a comma here. And now I can pretty much get rid of this, because that should be fine. All right, so make sure you got that comma there at the end. And then we should be good to, let's give it a quick refresh. Cool. Now we're ready to make the completion here when we type a message. And then we just going to go down here and we're going to, let's create a variable called full underscore response. We're going to set that to an empty string. This is going to display the full full response. Let's do, yeah, so full response is going to be display the full message. That's fine. And then here we're going to, since this is going to be stream in here, we're going to go and say for chunk, and then in completion we're gonna go and let's go and say full response, and then we're gonna concatenate plus equals and whatever text we get back from the completion or the chunk, because we're gonna get from the completion, we're gonna get multiple chunks because it's gonna be streaming different pieces of text, and we're going to concatenate it to this empty string by accessing each chunk dot choices and then square bracket 0 and then dot delta and then dot content. Or if there's nothing there, we're just gonna do it actually add nothing to the string, because sometimes we will respond with nothing in one of those chunks. And then we're going to add to remember the response text container that we created here, we're going to be adding the full response to that. So we're going to say response text, and then we're going to do the dot write, so we can write something to that container now and pass the full response here. Now that that's done, pretty much we just have to add the assistant message to the messages list. So we're gonna do a quick comment, add assistant message to the messages list. So we need to type in here is st.session underscore state dot messages dot append, and then we just need to append dictionary with row set to assistant, and then the content is going to be the full response. Cool. So now we are done here pretty much. Let's see, let's always rerun here. And now here we're gonna do a quick test. And right now our default model is llama 3. So we're gonna say hello. And right now we have a max tokes error, syntax error probably here. If I scroll back up, max tokens is the word that we're looking for, max tokens. So I had a little typo there. Make sure you don't have that there either. Let's give it a quick refresh. Let's say hello again. And we have a message, but then we have a error here, attribute error, SD, that section the state has no attribute called message. I forgot an S here somewhere. So messages in here as well. Let's refresh it one more time and test it again. Let's say hello again. And we can see the response. Now with no errors, say hello, it's nice to see you. Is there something I can help you with? Or we just like to chat. I'm gonna ask who created you. And we get the response that was created by Meta because this is Llama 3. I'm just gonna copy this here so I can switch the model. And what I want to work on now is that when we switch the model, we are going to clear the chat, because if we ask again, who created you, is going to get a little confused because you're sending the conversation to another model and it's kind of like reading all of this. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back up to the select box up here. So model selection area here, and we're gonna create a quick function, and that function will go right in here. We're just gonna say def, and we're gonna call this one reset underscore chat. And here, what I want to do, just want to reset the messages array. So sd that session underscore state dot messages, and reset that to an empty list. And then in the next line, I want to do a toast, so display something to the user and say that the model was changed. So let's pass an f string here. So F and then quotes and say model selected and then colon, and then we can pass the model selected. We're setting the model. Let's see how we can do this. So we can set that the model will be, so the model, we're still gonna set it inside of here, right? We're setting it here. So when we select the new one, we're setting it in here right away. So we just need to pass here in parentheses, in curly brackets, sd that session underscore state dot llm, and then reset chat completion. So we're gonna pass this function as the callback to the select box, and a callback function is just a function that will be called whenever there is a event on this select box and the event is on change. So when there's a change inside of this text box or select box, we're going to call the reset chat in here. Let's click always rerun here. So that would clear the messages, show the user a message here. So let's just refresh this again. Let's say now hello again. Ask who created you. And again, we get llama. Let's copy this. Let's switch over to Mixrow here. We reset the, we see the toast here, and then it will go away in a few seconds. And then if we ask, we say hello again, and then ask again who created you, we have Mixrow AI. Now if we switch again to the other model. We clear the chat. We say hello. See the response is different. Who created you? And this was Google DeepMind. Perfect. All right, so right now we have all the parameters set up. We have our chat working. We're getting the response. We're able to clear the chat. We can hide this till we get more space in here. And right now, everything is working as expected. And we can just, let me find a emoji here. I'm gonna copy some emoji and let's look for Emojipedia and go ahead and find this emoji again, and let's search for AI. Grab the little robot, copy that, and now bring it over to the toes. For the toes here. In here, we can pass a icon here. Icon equals, in quote, we pass the little robot there. Click always rerun. And I forgot to put a comma here. And then say, cool. All right, so that's working. Change the model to back to llama. We'll get the little icon in there and say hello again. What do you want to do? Just chat. And there we go. Perfect. So before we finish up, we just have one edge case to take care of. So what happens right now if we refresh the application and we just say hello. Streaming is on by default, but what happens if your user turns this off and say, I just want to chat? It crashes, right? Because we just taking care of the streaming, and now if we turn it off, it's not streaming anymore. So it's just sending the whole completion message all at once. So in order to take care of that really quick, we're just gonna go down here. So this is where we do the streaming, and we're just gonna do a quick if statement. So if stream is true, we just want to show the chunks, right? And then else, we would like to, let's do a with spinner, so we can show the user a spinner with st.spinner, and we're just going to say generating or something like that, and then we can show when that's completed. We're going to show them the completion dot choices square bracket 0. This one is dot message dot content because it's just all in one. And that's all we got to do. Let's just refresh to try that out one more time. So here we're going to say hello again. We get the streaming. If we turn it off and say just chat, and the spinner doesn't even show because it's very fast, but now we don't get an error. We just get everything all completed here because streaming is false now, and it's just going to show us the full completion right away. All right, so we're done. This is your Chatbot Playground that we created from scratch using Streamlit, Python, and the Groq API. So in here, we learn about the different parameters, how to build a UI, the Groq API, things about the model, different models that you can have. So you learn so much in just one single video. So I really hope you like this video. In the next video, we're probably going to do a quick deployment so we can see how we can deploy and share the applications with anyone that we will like them to share with. So I hope you like this one again, and I will see you in the next one.